Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another Voxpop episode with ExchangeWire. Today, I'm really, really excited for this episode. It's a topic that's very close to my heart and, close to relevant to industries across the board, especially ours, being ad tech. I'm delighted to be joined by Sandra Arnold, who is Regional Head of Learning and Effectiveness at GroupM UK and EMEA. Sandra, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Mariam. Pleased to be here.
So today we're talking about diversity, which I think is safe to say it sort of makes up the holy trinity of ad tech, along with sustainability and AI. And I think that's sort of the case for industries across the board. I want to dive in straight in here. So Sandra, where do you think we are in terms of diversity in the ad industry? This is a hot topic, but is progress really being made? What do you think?
I think we are seeing progress as an industry, perhaps not as quickly as it should be in some areas as well. I mean, our GroupM vision is for advertising to work better for people, and that's not just our clients and consumers, but our own people, really. And I know if we look at the IPA, the Advertising Association, the All-In Census that was ran last year, I think we saw that women made up 60% of the industry workers, but only 43% of that C-suite. Now, while that is up from 39% in 2021, I think there's still work to be done because we're still seeing that about, 29% of women in our industry believe that gender is actually hindering their career. And that's more than twice the proportion of men. So there's definitely work to do there. I mean, if we look at disability as well, I myself identify as disabled. I'm profoundly deaf. And only 11% of the industry identifies as disabled, but only 8% of the C-suite. And then I think you've got about 20% identifying as coming from working class background, as opposed to 40% of the public. Representation of ethnic minorities amongst the census, that did exceed the UK working population, and levels of discrimination, bullying and harassment of ethnic minorities have gone down. They are lower than they were in 2021, but we're still seeing that around 3 in 10 Black people stating that they were still likely to leave the industry because of lack of inclusion or discrimination. So I think collectively, as an individual and as businesses, we have got more to do.
So it kind of goes without saying in a lot of ways, and it may seem obvious to some, but in what ways do you think diverse leadership in advertising can actually help to create campaigns that, may appeal to a wider audience and help to combat stereotypes?
Well, I think we all need to feel represented, don't we? Both in the media and with our organisations at all levels. I think research shows 52% of consumers would trust a brand more if it reflected their culture. I know I would. And then 40% would actually stop using brands that don't promote inclusion and diversity. So that's true of employers too, really. So diversity, I think, has got a really good role to play in making advertising a better industry to work in, for definite. I think if leadership isn't diverse, employees won't feel represented, but then neither will the creative ideas for campaigns be able to represent our audiences either. We've got at GroupM, we've got lots of employee resource groups, and they're all really, really passionate about what they represent, and they're kind of massively helping us to improve the business through kind of education and change, which is, really supporting that agenda as well. And we've also actually launched Embark, which is our apprenticeship program. And this is not just for school leavers, it's for grads, returners, anyone that's sort of looking to learn from the industry's top talent. And this kind of really is helping us build that diverse pipeline, which eventually will move up to sort of leadership as well. We're still seeing, 3 and 5 employers that are screening for degrees at the moment, but we really want to make advertising industry more accessible, regardless of somebody's background.
Yeah, really exciting stuff. It's so nice to see, words actually being put into action, because I'm sure a lot of people have noticed, like, this kind of reminds me of what's going on with sustainability. There's a lot of words and a lot of conversations being had, but is this being translated into action? So, that brings me on to my next question for you. So GroupM has launched a new Empower program.
Yeah.
So what do you think is how would you word it as the main objective as GroupM's new Empower program? And how does it aim to, achieve greater gender diversity and leadership within the organization?
Yeah, Empower is one that I'm really excited about, because it's been something that I've wanted to see happen for a long time, and it's you know, it's definitely one that's very close to my heart as well. Ultimately, the program is designed, you know, to support and develop our talented women, foster their growth, give them networking opportunities, but ultimately it really is about helping them think that being a leader is possible, actually helping them feel empowered to reach that leadership position ultimately, and then giving them a way to take action to actually move that career forward, despite any of the challenges that they might face as well. So we've got currently, I think it's about 46 women across the GroupM network that are going through this first programme. So we're partway through at the moment of this pilot programme. Feedback so far from the participants and the stakeholders has actually been really amazing. So kudos to my amazing team who are actually running that program, because yeah, it's exceeded our expectations, definitely. Program itself is 9 months, split into 3 modules, and we're looking at 3 core areas. So empowering self, that's helping the women with their personal branding, around emotional intelligence, leadership styles, career goal setting, all of the things really focused on them. Then the second one is where they how they empower others, and we're helping them to think critically, you know, have the negotiation skills, even, you know, run a session on negotiating your salary, which we know is always something that is harder for women to do.
It was a tricky one, yeah.
It is. So, you know, they're getting the opportunity to have some great sessions that will help that, as well as sort of from a commercial perspective as well. Communicating and networking is a big thing in that area too. And then the third one, which they're about to move into, the third part of it, the third module, is around empowering your future. This is where we want to help them to sort of think about creating change, how they can create change for themselves and kind of for their teams and their business, and how to manage that change as well, because often that's quite a tricky one to do. How they find their future purpose, elements around that, and we're doing lots of coaching, helping them to coach others and to be coached themselves, and we're doing a big bit around peer coaching, and then we're going to have a great sort of celebration at the end of the programme. It's all been peppered the whole way through with speaker sessions and like mini master classes, and we've had some great people come in, including you know, Catherine Wignall, who is our Chief Transformation and Integration Officer. She's our executive sponsor of the programme, and you know, she's come along and is closely following these women all the way through, and is always there, and her door's open for any of these women to connect with and talk, and you know, she'll be wrapping that programme up. So yeah, it's been really great to actually, you know, put a positive programme in place to kind of support and you know, put action behind the words, really, as you said.
Right, that's so exciting. I love that you sort of saw a gap in the market for this sort of thing and just sort of jumped on it and spearheaded this campaign. Just out of curiosity, what do you think is, you know, I'm just curious to know what you think, because obviously this is the work that you're doing. What do you think is the main sort of barrier to women in the ad tech industry specifically? What sort of thing are they facing up against that you see time and time again?
It's a really interesting one, because it does vary, and you know, we do see, you know, a drop off of women after a certain age in our industry. You know, I know, kind of walking around myself, or having seen it in other areas, there is far fewer women of my own age. You know, those of us in our 50s, we're not seeing them as
Right.
much in the industry. And I think, you know, we need to sort of say, what is that barrier that's coming there? I think we're also seeing women saying that they feel that gender is you know, a hindrance to them in the industry. Women that are going on parental leave, will that affect their career? You know, that is a barrier as well. And we often find that as women do get older, not only are they then juggling the family life, but they may then become carers as well later in life. You know, something that happened to myself too. And that makes it really difficult to think, oh my gosh, am I going to actually be able to manage a promotion, a leadership position where I'm responsible for all these people, but I'm also responsible for all of this. And it's
Right.
not just the family, it could be, for any reason. They may be managing their own other personal circumstances of their own, their physical health, their mental health. And again, it's something that I think women will tend to think more about that being a barrier than perhaps, men do.
Right. Interesting stuff. So Sandra, how does GroupM actually plan to measure the success of this new program, Empower? Are there any specific metrics in place to sort of track the progress of the participants?
Um, if you ask someone that's in the learning industry, measuring the ROI is kind of one of the things that is quite elusive. It's always really tricky to measure learning programs anyway. Anyone in the learning industry would say it's something that we all really want to do well. But, we do have the usual measures in place. We've got the pre and post assessment questionnaires so we can see kind of what they were feeling before they went into the program, kind of now as opposed to where they are when they come out the other side of it. We're tracking feedback all the way through, what went well, what could we have done better, what additional things should we be adding to future programs, so we're constantly evaluating it, as we go along. But I really see this as more of a long game in terms of this program, because we want to reduce the gap at the C-suite. We've already seen that in getting more females at that level, and it is programs like this that I believe will really start to pave that way. We are building that pipeline. So I think we've got immediate measurements, but I think we need to look at this more over that long game, really.
Right. Final question here for you, Sandra. What are some of the major challenges facing the industry as we head into 2024?
Okay, well, I'm really only speaking from a learning and effectiveness viewpoint, I guess. But I think for me, often during these sort of hard economic times, when businesses have to, watch their budgets and watch the hard line and that sort of thing, I think as an industry, sometimes we might see that training DEI budgets tend to get cut or reduced, and that can make it harder to retain our talent. It's really vital if that we are to keep that diversity and inclusion, the sustainability, as you said, all of those things at the top of that agenda. We have to hope not to see those cuts and have to put that people agenda first. I think I'm really pleased actually that GroupM does continue to invest in really important initiatives, like Empower, like Embark, our apprenticeship program as well, and that continues to help promote a positive work environment.
Right, putting people first. I love that. On that note, that's all the time that we have today. Sandra, thanks so much for joining us and talking to us about this really important project that you're spearheading.
Thank you, Mariam.
And that's it for this week's Voxpop episode. See you all next time.